Okay, so another exercise that we must do while we're here on site is we go through these survey forms issued to us from SCAI. The first page we can fill in as we go along or do it at the end. Client name and address, the MPRN number. We can get that from the ESB bill from the client. If not, if you remember, we took photographs of the meter outside, and from the information on the meter we can approach the ESB and they can give us that MPRN number. We fill in our name, survey, the date that we did the survey on. If you know this information, number of occupants, we can fill that in. And then what you need to do is come down to determine what sort of property it is. In our case, I beg your pardon, it's a mid-terrace property. So we'll just tick that box. The age of the dwelling. Now we can ask the homeowner if they're around what the age of the dwelling is as far as they know. If not, we did have a look at the ESB meter again, and on that there was a date of the year 2000. So we'll get an idea from there that the house was built in the year 2000. But to back that up, if you look at the windows and in the spacer bar between the panes of glass, there is a, well, not always, but a lot of the time there is a date stamped on that spacer bar, and it will confirm to you then whether it is the year, what the year of construction was. And we'll have a look at one of those spacer bars now in a minute. So in this case here, this house was built in the year 2000, so we'll tick that box. We do not have any extensions, so we can leave them blank. We just quickly fill in the type of rating. In our case, it's an existing dwelling, so we'll tick that box. The purpose of the rating. This house is being sold, so it is for sale. And this is just information for SCAI in these areas here. Then we get into the wall construction, the roof construction, the ground floor construction. Now when we came into the house first, we noticed from the outside that there were no air bricks down underneath the windows, down near the pavement, which would indicate to us that it is a solid concrete floor. When you enter the house and you walk on the floor, you can feel that it is a solid floor. So we will put that in as a solid concrete floor. The wall construction, we can see that the walls on the inside are dry lined. The thickness of the wall we'll measure, and from that we can determine whether or not it is a cavity wall or a hollow block wall. And in this instance, it's actually a hollow block wall. And we were able to determine that basically from experience, but sometimes you might be able to look through a vent and you could see physically what the wall construction is, or when you open up the ESB meter box, sometimes then you can also see what the wall construction is. So in our case, it is a hollow block wall, and it's just dry lined on the inside, so we tick that box. Our roof construction, it's a pitched roof, and the insulation is at ceiling joist level, so we'll tick that box. And we don't have any wall constructions type 2 or roof constructions 2 and so on. So the rest of this form here we leave blank because it doesn't apply to our particular property. On the second page, all the information that we have here is basically what we have recorded in these sketches. So what I tend to do is once I have it recorded on these sketches, I leave that alone and I will fill that in back in the office and do out the little calculations that have to be done back then. Then we fill in these last two pages deal with ventilation and with the heating system itself. Now we can see from our front elevation of our house that we do not have a porch on the front door. So if there's no porch there, regardless of what size, if it isn't there, then there's no draft lobby. So in this case, it asks the question, is the draft lobby in the main entrance? We put in there no. Number of sides sheltered. We know it is a mid-terrace house, so we're going to have at least 2 sides sheltered. When we go outside and measure between the front of our house and the front of the house across the street, we will find that the distance is less than 5 times the height of the house across the street. And if that's the case, then we are able to say that this front wall of the house is also sheltered. So for this particular house, we have 3 sides that are sheltered. So we'll write 3 in there. And then it asks, is a pressure test available? The pressure test results, and we do not have any pressure test results. So we'll say no to that one. And the ventilation system in the house is natural ventilation. So we'll just tick that box. And then we're down into the space heating system. And the heating system is a radiator system, which is the primary heating system, is a radiator system. Our secondary heating system, as we described earlier, is our open fire in the living room. So a secondary heating system, it is a room heater only. So we'll tick that box. And then we talk about the primary heating fuel. So the primary heating fuel is mains gas. So we'll fill that in. And then our secondary heating fuel, which is our coal or open fire, which can be either house coal, peat briquettes, or any of those typical solid fuel type fuel. So I would put in house coal in that case there. Then we need to fill in information that we have on the boiler. Now, the information we got from site is quite limited, and we might need to do a bit more research on it. So as long as we have recorded as much information as we can get on the boiler, I would tend to leave that blank for the moment until I can research it on either the HARP or on the SEDbook database. So from the point of view of filling in these forms, some of the information is best left until you can do your research and get the correct information, and then we can fill it in afterwards. So we can say that the primary system is a gas boiler. Then our secondary system is it's a room heater, which is an open fire in the grate, so we can fill that box in there. And that's about as much as we can do with that page until we can do a bit of research on the actual boiler itself. And then on the last page is to do with the hot water, and we know our hot water cylinder is heated by the gas boiler as well as an immersion heater. So our primary hot water system is heated from our main heating system. So we'll tick that box in there. It's a hot water cylinder. We did have access. We measured the size of it. We have that recorded on our sketch, so we can calculate what that capacity is, and we can do that back in the office, so we can fill that in then. We do know it has a lagging jacket on it, so we can tick that box. We've measured the thickness of it as best we could. That looks to be about 40 millimeters, so we can take that box. We just need to tick the box there that says cylinder. And up here it asks about a solar water heating system. Now we don't have a solar water heating system, so we'll say no. It asks, is supplementary summer hot water, is it applicable, or is there an immersion heater present? In this situation here, we cannot separate the hot water from the main boiler. We cannot just heat hot water and not heat radiators. We don't have the correct level of controls to do that. So we will be putting into deep that this particular house, that we do use supplementary electric hot water during the summer. So in this box here, we'll just give that a tick just to remind us when we get back to the office that we have to do that. And then the last thing we look at are the heating controls. Now, we've had a look around and we can see that there are no TRV valves on the radiators. And in fact, the only controls that we do have are the timer control that was positioned directly below the boiler. So from our heating controls point of view, what we have is just the second one down, which is a programmer stroke time clock. And we tick that box. And then we don't have any underfloor heating, so we can ignore that. Pumps, how many central heating pumps? Usually there's one, so we'll stick a 1 in there. We don't have an oil boiler, so we don't have anything to do with that. And how many gas boiler flue fans? Well, the boiler flue fan is at the back of the boiler itself, and we have one of them, so we'll put a 1 in there. And then we don't have a group heating system. So that finishes filling in those survey forms. Other than this second page and all that information that's in there, we have recorded on here. So essentially we have filled in these forms, and once we're happy that we have all the information, and these forms can be used as a checklist, so you need to go through them before you actually leave the property. So fill in what you can, and they can also serve as a reminder to look at things that you may have forgotten about. And then you need to just gather up all your information and make sure you don't leave any of it behind, and take it all with you. And that's then our survey completed.